the people on the other hemisphere from us aren't actually in the future.
Yeah.
Right? They're existing at the same time right now. It's just they're recognizing a date that's in the future.
And now time doesn't matter. The number doesn't matter. What matters is coordination, a standard.
Everybody looks for shapes in clouds. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone saying that it was some form of spiritual prognostication.
Why are there 2 days in a day? Why are there 2 12s in there? Why not 24? I can't count the number of times I've seen the moon in the daytime, like with blue sky and stuff, which is, I love that. But so yeah, the nighttime was kind of irrelevant.
No moon. Welcome to another exciting episode of Kitchen Sink Microscopy. And I'm Casey Rochford, and you probably know that by now because you're huge fans. You've already gone to patreon.com/KSMvidcast and become a deep sink diver. That's right. Deep sink diver.
Ooh, so deep. Sorry, I'm
gonna make sweet love to you down by the kitchen sink.
Oh man, this is hey, so follow our OnlyFans. Anyway, I'm Eric Rosenblatt, and you also probably know that as well. So Casey and I, we write our own music. It's available on iTunes and Spotify and stuff. And I don't know, you can get it in various ways. You'll love it. Stick around to the end of this episode, the timestamp down there, and you're going to hear a new song, something new.
Or skip there now and listen to it, and then skip back here and watch the episode.
Yeah.
Skip why don't we just stick the song in the front? Wow, what are we doing?
That might be... throw an extra minute into it, like... Yeah, it's kind of nice to have it as on the out. But anyway, yeah. So, we have a website too, ksmvidcast.com. You can get all the information and stuff. We got merch.
I was talking about Patreon, and I forgot to give a shout out to our newest top tier level patron, April. So thank you very much. And Sam is still around with us, and so we thank you for those. Top level contributions. Keep the show going and churning out kick-ass material.
Oh yeah. We'll have to do something special for her. Yeah, nice. So
is that why you invited me over?
Wait a second. There's correlations. No. Anyway, before diverging too much, well, so what do you want to talk about today? Like, what's our super fun topic for discussion?
Well, today is Tuesday. That's the usual day that we record, but it happens to be Tuesday, 2/22/22. So naturally, people are like, "Oh my God!" This is, because of the arbitrary numbers that we've chosen to mark the date by, have all produced a bunch of twos. Provided that you cut off the 20 part of 2022 and get rid of that 0.
Yeah, well, 2022 is also kind of a t sound. Like it all sort of comes together. And I mean,
what I'm getting at though is numerology is, simultaneously like fun, but also like super goofy and ridiculous. But some people take it seriously.
Yeah. I guess, you know, now mathematics and numbers, I get it. My movie recommendation for today is to watch the movie Pi. That is not PIE, but PI.
Is that the one with the kid and a tiger on the boat?
No, it's a guy.
Oh, that's Life of Pi.
Yeah. No, this is a movie about a guy that's like building this kind of weird, I'm guessing some kind of quantum computer or something, and trying to solve all kinds of complex things. And actually, the movie's more about migraines than mathematics. It's really super interesting. Guerrilla filmmaking at its best, completely filmed in black and white. Really, really cool movie. Super awesome soundtrack. Just a banging soundtrack. And disturbing. Really good movie. But anyway, I guess like numbers matter in a certain sense. But
they don't have like mystical attachments to them, right?
No. And this movie kind of went and it touched on the whole like Jewish mysticism angle of numbers and stuff, but also some other thing. I don't know, really good. Yeah, like we made up numbers. Like this is the thing that I think is important for people to understand when it comes to things like numerology. Like I wouldn't dismiss it. Like there might be a seed of truth. I mean, there's a seed of truth in everything, and maybe there's something to it. But the numbers themselves don't really mean anything because they're completely made up. That like we just fabricated that system. It's like, oh, well, we decided on base 10. It's a decimal system. So, 0 through 9 and blah, blah, blah. And that's our numbers. But okay, well, what if we had built everything on binary or octal or hexadecimal or something, base 12? Like now all of a sudden, the numbers that meant something then don't mean anything now, just because we've shifted our standard. Like, and it really depends on what it's applied to, I guess. Like what
we measure time. We measure time in base 12, but everything else in like metric. And why didn't we just freaking make it metric time?
Well, they tried that during the French Revolutionary period. Like a metric calendar, metric time and stuff. It's pretty hard when you have centuries of established timekeeping and that particular construct to create. I mean, however good it is, it may be good, but people are slow to adopt it because, well, it means like, well, I just spent a whole shit ton of money on this watch, and now I've got to throw it away and buy this other watch or this clock or the clock tower or something. Like, I get it. There's some things that are a little difficult.
We just got to give the entire world amnesia. And then when they like come to, we could be like, well, this is how you measure time. And give them a new set of time. And then they'll look at their watches and be like, what is this? And we'll be like, oh, you remember Nokia phones of the game of Snake? That's all that is.
Exactly.
It's really slow.
Oh man, this is like actually a very huge topic.
It really is, yeah. Because I mean, so some of this is pattern-seeking behavior, right? Which we've talked about a lot. It's typical human stuff. Like, oh, it's 11:11. Look at all the ones. And I have a friend and we text each other at 11:11 if we happen to be looking at our phones and stuff.
I have a friend that we do the exact same thing. Yeah.
So it's it's fun. But it's not like, your eyes were drawn to the phone at the exact right time, and
well, and actually, there's some interesting things about that because for a long time, I've had this sort of propensity to notice time when there's a pattern, like 333, 222, 123, 11:11, things like that.
That's because you're seeing the pattern and recognizing the pattern, and you remember those moments more than all the other moments you look at the clock and just completely forget that you looked at the clock.
Exactly. That's my point. It's like nobody's, seeing it as remarkable. They looked and it was like 2:35 or something. Like, oh, well, what does that mean? And even then, like, what do the patterns even mean? Who cares that there's 11:11? Like, the whole thing is arbitrary to begin with. And not only that, think about this. Okay, so you and I live in the same time zone, and when we look at a clock, it says 11:11. My clock might say 23:11, by the way. Depending on
mine would too.
Which half of the day it is.
Well, and then we wrote that song 22:22 because when we like stopped to take a break and looked at my phone, and I was like, oh, look, it's 22:22. And that's just what we named the song. It has like no like special meaning behind it other than coincidence.
That should actually be reused on this episode.
I was just gonna say that. That was
that was a really good one. But the thing is, like, those numbers don't mean anything. Like, the artificial constructs, government essentially made time zones and set things up. So there's kind of like these boxes where, okay, look at it. There's a star, Sol, the sun, the earth is orbiting around it. The earth is spinning on its axis too. So you've got days and you've got years and you've got seasons because of tilt and stuff. But it's 11:11 all the time, everywhere on earth. Like, sure, I know clocks say different times and stuff, but the sun is the earth is a constantly rotating body. So the sun is constantly rising across the earth all day long at every possible point. Like, just because it happens to fall into this particular box and, oh, well, now you're in this time zone, and well, it's 11:11 here, but now it's 10:11 over there. Oh, right. But well, they don't observe DST there, so now it's 12:11 or something, like it's all made up. The numbers don't mean anything, like, from a time standpoint, at least. Like
a physical here and the now time. Like, I get what you're saying. It's like the people on the other hemisphere from us aren't actually in the future.
Yeah.
Right? They're existing at the same time right now. It's just they're recognizing a date that's in the future, quote unquote, from where we are, Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Like, imagine if we had like reconstructed our concept of time, the numbers that we've chosen or whatever, and the way that we like integrate that with our day. Like, wouldn't it be awesome if you started work at like 3 a.m. and then got out at 11 a.m. and it's just like light out, like a bunch, and then by the time you start getting tired, the sun is going to be like going down anyway, so you still get like dark time to sleep.
Well,
so,
the whole point, actually, that's a really good point. And my thought on that is, like, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. The sun rises and sets regardless of what we build around that pattern, like, it just happens. The day is 24-ish hours long. It's not quite 24, and that creates some problems. Like, it made sense. It made sense a long time ago when we were very localized and there were towns, and we kind of regulated things in a very confined sense. But nowadays, it's a global world. We can communicate with anybody, anywhere, anytime. Everybody instantaneously can communicate. So it's sort of like we had a system that made a lot of sense 200 years ago. Before we even had clocks, like, we were using sundials and stuff to keep track of time. And we didn't even keep track of minutes or seconds. That was sort of a later evolution of that. And now time doesn't matter. The number doesn't matter. What matters is coordination, a standard. Like, okay, if I say we're going to do this thing at this time, right? You and I, let's say I buy my sailboat and I'm sailing across the world. I don't know what time zone I'm in, like, and we're like, well, we're going to start a live stream using satellite internet at this time. Well, I got to figure out what the fuck time zone I'm in and where you are and like do a bunch of math and stuff. And I suck at math, So why don't we have a universal time? Why don't we use something like UTC or GMT? Well, UTC has become kind of the standard, even though they're sort of the same thing, which is anyway. But we should all, like what you're saying about starting work at any given time and ending at any given time. Like, why not? Like, because think about it. The whole like 9 to 5 thing. Oh, it feels right to start work at 9 and end at 5 or whatever.
That's because our circadian rhythms are programmed to that, but doesn't mean they can't be changed.
No, our circadian rhythms aren't programmed to watches and clocks. They're programmed to the sun, right? Like light patterns and stuff. The numbers, we made that up. We made 9 o'clock. We made 5 o'clock or 1700 if you're me. Yeah, exactly. Like, so we could easily shift it so the entire world is using the same time wherever you are, and because it doesn't matter. There's no difference if you start work at like 0400 or start at like, I don't know, 1800 or 1850 or 30 or something. Like it's all just made up. Like the numbers don't mean anything. It didn't mean anything a long time ago, like, way back in the day. And I find it interesting that a lot of people who get involved in time numerology tend like lean more towards like the pagan, neo-pagan kind of direction. But it's like, that wasn't a thing. Pagans were farmers. Nobody cared about the time. They cared about the sun. They cared about seasons. They cared, like,
why do you think
length of day?
Numbers in general, though? Like, why do you think that particular group is more inclined to see patterns in numbers and find some really deep meaning?
It's a symbological thing, I think, because numbers tend to be that way. I don't know.
Like of all the patterns that you can find in the world, like why everybody looks for shapes in clouds. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone saying that it was some form of spiritual prognostication. Oh, yeah. I saw an elephant in the clouds. I must go to the zoo, for great fortune will be bestowed upon me. It's nothing like that, but that's a pattern that we all see. We just haven't built this like spiritual realm around it.
That's a really interesting point, because it is symbological. Right. So that like there's no difference between an observation that something vaguely looks like an elephant, amorphous particles of water in the atmosphere, or something that somebody hundreds of years ago decided like, oh well, we're gonna divide it into base 12. Well, not really base 24, but 12. Like, well, that gets confusing.
Well, 24 is just the second iteration of 12. So
yeah, but it's like, well, what is a day? Why are there 2 days in a day? Why are there 2 12s in there? Why not 24? And then that brings up a whole lot of questions about like
gears, man. They couldn't build the clocks with the big enough gears to go all that, that turn that big ass hand. They're like, we got to shrink the hand. Well, let's cut the time in half and have 2 12s.
I think it actually goes back to the days of the sundial, because the sundials essentially tracked kind of the daylight hours, and that was about half a day of daylight. So the nighttime was sort of amorphous. It's kind of like, well, that's the night. You can't track it. You can't calculate it back then. Until we start
dials.
developing moon dials. Yeah. Well, only if you have like maybe a full moon or something. But it wasn't
even then, its pattern I don't think would cast any kind of shadow that you could time things in a micro level. You know, and
well,
by
not
micro,
only
I
that,
mean
but the
hours.
moon and the sun are not opposites. Like the moon orbits completely independently, completely different pattern than the rotation of the Earth. So the length of day has nothing to do with the moon. Like I can't count the number of times I've seen the moon in the daytime, like with blue sky and stuff, which is I love that. But so yeah, the nighttime was kind of irrelevant.
No moon.
Nice. Okay, points for that. Yeah, but I don't know that. I think there's significance in patterns. There's significance in the cosmos. The like being someone who's kind of very logical, but also kind of woo. Very much deep in the woo weeds. I think there's something there, but it isn't numbers, and it's certainly not the numbers that we've fabricated to solve problems, because that's really what it is. It's like we made this up so that we can be in the same place at the same time. Like, oh, there's a meeting at this time. Like, imagine if everybody had a different sense of what time was, or different numbering systems. Like,
I think the concept is inherently human, because you're right. You do need to coordinate yourself in space time. You know.
Yeah.
But I think it was like, back in the day, they might have said, "Oh, that was many moons ago." Well, that's just like something that you see in a repetitive occurrence that you can, like use as a metric, right?
Yeah.
And so like it could have been like any old thing, right? Like when the shadows grow longer.
Well, there's also what is the fortnight?
The fortnight.
I still don't understand where that came from, but now I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah,
that's actually really curious.
I have been curious about that. Yeah. 2 weeks, if there's someone who doesn't know, is randomly called a fortnight. Like,
yeah, exactly. Or why measure? What was the Lincoln speech, like 70 years or whatever it is?
We should make our own.
Why break
of time? Like the time between our Friday episode and the Tuesday minute microscopy is one sync.
One sync. Yes. Oh yeah. Well, and that was kind of what I was getting at, is all the like weird measurements. I remember I grew up in a time before metric was taught. And so I had to learn all the weird measurement systems, like bushels and fucking pecks and like, what the hell? What is that stuff? And trying to convert ounces to gallons. It was like, wait a minute, you're talking fluid or solid ounces?
There's
like
7 Gregories in a peck.
Yeah. Like why are there 2 different ounces?
Yeah.
There's a weighted one, a volumetric one. Like that makes no sense.
Well,
2 different words.
In a way, no, I'm not going to get all chemical. My purview is biology. So
the thing is, like, those kinds of things are completely, well, they're based on things that made sense a long time ago. Like people used to measure things, like inches and feet and yards and stuff were based on physical things that people had at the ready, fingers and feet and stuff. And so it was pretty easy to kind of like estimate, and it's very much an estimation. But when we started getting into, the Industrial Revolution and stuff, we needed precision, we needed consistency, we needed standards. And so things changed, and metric actually makes a lot of sense in that regard.
Is that why they changed the length of the second to be like exactly that of the nuclear or
Oh,
nucleus? I can't remember what it is.
it's some kind of like a decay of some
Yeah.
particular.
Again, chemistry, not my thing.
But whatever it is, the important thing is everybody agrees on it, but it doesn't fucking matter. Like we could have chosen plutonium decays or thorium or whatever, like anything, you name it. It, the important thing is standards. The important thing is that like what you understand is the same thing that I understand, so that when we try to do a thing, measure a thing, like it's the same for both of us. You sell me something and you say it's this much of something, and I can be like, oh, well, oh, yeah, okay, that's what I want, and I will buy it or whatever. We can exchange that, and I'll give you a certain amount of currency, and there's an understanding of what that means. Time is the same way. That like it made sense a long time ago to employ a system that was very fundamentally simple. Like it was really graspable by anybody. Sundials, right? It's pretty easy. Well, there's the sun up there. It's casting a shadow on this little spiky thing that's pointing up, and there it is, and there's numbers there. Oh, and it was, of course, it's fucking Roman numerals. Ugh. Don't get me started on that. That's another thing. But in a local sense, that worked because we didn't communicate with anybody anywhere else in a rapid sense.
Right.
But nowadays, it's like we're hanging on to this old system as if it's like still relevant. And honestly, none of it's relevant. It really isn't. We need a new system. We need a system that makes sense for a global world, like, or an intergalactic or interplanetary world. Like what happens?
Well, that's why it should be a chemical thing, I think, because that's going to be one of those universal constants. And by universal, I mean universal.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was going to say, like, what happens to time when we start exploring the cosmos?
Right.
What is a minute? How do you calculate that? You can't look at the sunrise because there is no fucking sun.
Do you think alien life would understand the concept of pattern binding behavior? Like, say they evolved with no predators and never even like had to come up with that sort of thinking.
Ooh.
Like, hey, imagine how different things would be if we didn't feel this like primal urge to look for patterns and everything. Like, well, just today being two or whatever, however many twos there are. I went to visit my dad, and he's been having some health troubles, and they told him today that they thought half his heart was dead. And then driving home, a Nevermore song comes on, Dead Heart in a Dead World. Like, it's easy to find a pattern in that. It's easy to see, like, when you break up with someone and then all you hear are breakup songs. It's like, it's easy to find patterns.
There's the like, you never noticed a car before, but then you buy a particular car, and now you only see that car everywhere.
Yeah.
Like,
it's evolution, but
it is.
What if aliens don't have that? Like, we'd be like Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, and they'd be like, dude, what the fuck?
Oh man,
gotta be a real geek to get that one.
That is. I should be wearing my Darmok shirt now. Oh man,
go see episode 0 Alpha.
Yeah, I think the pattern recognition thing is kind of a universal evolutionary survival process that like being able to see patterns and kind of remember stuff makes you survive no matter where you are. Even if there's no threats, like it could come down to something like resource management, like finding water sources or whatever sources of whatever keeps you alive, the ether or something. I think that is a fairly normal trait. And it makes sense. Back a long time ago, survival was very sketchy. And so it kind of makes sense that kind of these, I don't know, religious constructs were built around them, as like these symbols mean something or whatever.
It's almost as if, pattern behavior can be ingrained into DNA to an extent, I think there's, like, how else do you know how to find food when you're hungry? That sort of thing, right? Like, those like instincts have to be passed down in some way, right? I kind of,
that's a, oh damn, that
I'm just thinking, like, maybe like the need for religion, even though it's so clearly stupid and wrong, is so primal and in our DNA that, like, there's just a few people that have the mutation that allows them to be atheist or whatever.
Well, and okay, it's
what
so
if it
clearly
is biological?
I think it might be. It's so clearly stupid and wrong to us in this time, like in the now.
Yes. Yeah, obviously in a simpler time, but we are talking about evolution, right? Like, if it's biologically evolving, then sociologically it'll have to follow suit too.
I don't know the two things necessarily are directly correlated. I think there might be a little bit of a lag there that takes a minute for things to catch up. Obviously,
they're
politics, Jesus,
sociology and biology are two completely different.
They're
in vacuums of one another, and
exactly. But I think they influence each other.
Of course. Sociologically, we've decided what attractive is, and those are the people that will tend to carry their particular mutations of genes on. So your sociology affects your biology.
And that depends on where you live, because you could also live in Japan where they...
that should be a really long t-shirt. That was a really cool way to explain it.
Well, and that I think the whole attractiveness thing is subjective. In Japan, there's a concept called Wabi-Sabi, where imperfection is attractive because it's kind of special.
But that's how you have different races, right? Like local, intermingling of these like traits or whatever, and I mean like in a couple senses, turns into a cultural leaning toward a certain definition of attractive.
Yeah, and I would definitely say it's more of like a leaning. I don't know. There is, because there are all kinds of, speaking just on the stance of attractiveness, like, and why I think it's very subjective. I talk to a lot of people and they have completely different ideas about what's attractive than I do. Like, I lean more to the Wabi-Sabi side of things, where a little bit of imperfection is kind of nice. Like, I sort of like that. I like girls that are a little rough around the edges, have some stuff like
4 out of 5 of your girlfriends, or however many, are probably watching right now going, hey.
That isn't, it's not like a negative thing.
No.
Because I'm not, I am
facetious.
I know. And I am definitely not perfect at all. So,
and I sympathized with you for that. Like, it must suck. not being perfect like I am.
Uh,
Yeah.
I go
Well, and
between
that does-
self-deprecation and like overinflated like
Yeah.
delusions of grandeur.
Exactly. Well, and I think the idea of perfection is very subjective. I don't
Mhm.
think there is a perfect. A perfect is a personal thing.
Perfect is what you want it to be.
Yeah, it's what you appreciate. It's what you like. Like it doesn't matter how many other people feel the same way. All at the end of the day, what matters is what you appreciate, what you care about, what you love, you know?
If the same aliens had no pattern-seeking behavior, would they have a concept of perfection?
Ooh, man.
Perfection is relative to something that we find disorderly, right?
Yeah.
What if
well,
if
and-
you,
and
we
not
need to
only
have your
that-
friend on that has aphasia because would be the perfect conversation. Someone
Yeah.
who can't like visualize things.
mhm.
Do they find patterns? I want to know that now.
Ooh,
I gotta
man.
write that down.
Okay,
Jesus Christ.
we're gonna have to do that. Oh man, that yeah,
Would
that's
that
a
be called
really good
aphasics? If people who
aphantasia.
have-
It's
aphantasia. That's
Yeah.
right. I had aphasia. Aphantasia.
Isn't aphasia like mixing
Yeah,
like
I had.
senses?
It's like forming structures or something. You know, like since I had aphasia or aphasia, I had lack of it.
Okay.
And that one is called again. Sorry,
Aphantasia.
aphantasia,
Yeah.
and that's when you have apha a and not a full a. Sorry, poor British joke there without a British accent to go and give you context. Anyway, I think that would be a cool.
I think so. Oh man, I had a really good point there. Like, man, this is who would have thought like something that began with numerology would be so awesome.
Oh,
Well,
haven't you learned by now? Everything we talk
yeah,
about turns into
I totally have. Like
the most
dude,
awesome shit.
we could turn anything into an hour or two of conversation.
Yeah.
It's
No diggity, no doubt.
no doubt.
Play on, player.
Oh man, now I'm gonna have to listen to that song. Shit.
Just today, the singer from the Screaming Trees died, so that sucks. He
Oh,
was
fuck.
57.
Man.
Like all the great singers of the 90s are like dying off before the 80s ones, and those guys partied. Like,
Yeah.
like what's going on?
Man, I have to say my greatest woe is David Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that one. I got into Bowie late. I mean, like I always like Modern Love and Let's Dance and
Mm-hmm.
Labyrinth stuff or whatever.
Oh, Labyrinth, hell yeah.
And then you like get into the deeper stuff, and there's hits and misses, which I can sympathize with as a musician. Like, not everything I write is stellar.
Yeah.
He just kind of has like this honey badger don't give a shit attitude about it, and he just puts stuff out there, and he always did something like different, but also like testing out the waters of the new trends and
Kind of cutting edge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my favorite Bowie song has to be I've Not Been to Oxford Town.
My favorite is Something in the Air.
Nice.
It was from like 2002. So a relatively newer one, just 20
Mhm.
years old.
Yeah, this one was fairly new. It was actually remixed for Starship Troopers, the movie in the 90s by
No, wait, it must have been a 90s song. Sorry, never mind.
Oh yeah. Well, anyway, going back to numbers, I think you had a point about something and I've completely lost what I was thinking.
I started thinking about like whether beings that didn't evolve pattern seeking would what was I saying about that? Oh, if they had a concept of perfection.
Oh yeah, no, dude. Yes, perfection. Yes, that's good.
Yeah, we came back around.
Hey, all right, nice. Hey, crack another beer. All right,
Wait, what were we just talking about, man?
celebrate. Yeah, I don't know. What was that?
This beer is perfect.
Yeah,
Oh yes, perfection. Wow, that was a pattern, man. The beer told me what we were talking about.
we have to go into that Red Dwarf episode. Yeah, so I was going to talk about perfection, and I think it's sort of like, well, in fact, I guess I'd have to ask the question: what is perfect? To who? And I asked the question in the context of intergalactic relations. Like, what is perfect?
There is no such thing, because everything abides by the physical law, which includes entropy.
Mm.
Everything is constantly breaking down toward a state of, and this is another arbitrary thing that we made up, the idea of chaos.
That is very true. Yeah, exactly.
What if that's orderly? Things gravitate toward where they're supposed to be in a general sense, right?
So what if that is a state of perfection?
Ooh,
The final entropy outcome is a state of perfection. Like everything has been broken down to its simplest components, and it's perfect. Like it could be, or is it the things that have been untouched by entropy touched as little as possible?
Is this the part where we get all 6 stones in the gauntlet and we're like, and half the universe is just gone? Are we gonna have a Thanos moment?
It could be. For the aliens out there, I know you're out there listening. For them, it could be. Man, but I don't think there is such thing as perfection. Be it whatever you are looking at, because it does come down to that. There aren't boxes. Things don't fit into boxes. We make the boxes and we fit them into it. And sometimes they fit and usually they don't. And when they don't, we're frustrated and we're like, well, it has to fit in the box because that's what I want.
And that's why earlier I said perfection is what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like
whatever's perfect to you is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
We keep telling people there's no such thing as perfect because we're telling them what perfect is. It's kind of bullshit to say that there is no such thing as perfect.
No, and
it's not a place you can actually be. It's a state of mind.
And it's subjective. It's a thing that exists between the observer and the observee. That's perfection. You may see somebody as perfect, or you may see a thing as perfect, but nobody else will. And you'll never see anybody else or anything else as perfect, except for that one thing.
This is such a good goddamn episode.
I know.
From numerology.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, oh man.
Damn.
This is something I think is really important for people to understand and really hold close to their heart. You don't have to be what other people want. Society as a whole, the masses, the democratic system has voted that this is perfection. Fuck it is. Be yourself.
Chris Cornell, another one we lost.
Shit. That's right. Oh man,
that was a good song too. Be yourself is all that you can do. That's so.
Do we need to bust into song and do our own version of that? Well, there's also the song that Jen and I did, Just Be.
Oh, that was a good one. Damn. You were singing on that?
No,
In the background?
got it, but it was all her. So I did the
wow.
music and the video, and she did the vocals and the lyrics.
Nice. Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, that
Available on Spotify.
mhm.
I think it's out already.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. No? Maybe. Maybe I didn't release that one because she had writing credit, and I don't know how that would.
Yeah, it was a collab. But hey, you know,
it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Yeah, just look up Jen Eric, Just Be.
JEN.
Yeah.
Well, YouTube will figure it out.
Well,
They pay people millions and billions to figure out algorithms to.
yeah, if they
get
can't figure
mistypes.
out like whether there's like 2 N's or 1 or there's a dash or Eric is spelled with a C or a K, like.
And now some nerd is sitting on a couch laughing at me like, it's not that hard to write that code.
Oh man.
Now I'm digging on our viewers. What a dick.
Oh man. I think we should kind of go back into like numbers and stuff. A little bit. Like
Yeah. There's
so
a lot of angles to go from numerology still. We just went way down a rabbit hole.
we did as usual.
Found the definition of perfection.
Yeah. Hey, fuck, you know, every episode we solve problems that no politician you could ever vote for would ever solve. We fixed it. So you're welcome. But you know, the idea that numbers, like I think numbers mean something. The universe is mathematics. And it's a beautiful thing. Like when you see it, it's really hard not to be spiritual or delve into religion, going into like fractals and chaos theory and things. Like it really it starts getting a little bit acid trippy.
What if we made up mathematics too, though?
Well, we did, but we made it up to try to understand the universe around us.
But I think that might have been based on patterns too, right?
It is. But you know, how do you quantify something so complex? You have to start somewhere. And I guess that's
kind of a brain buster.
Like, it really is. And I guess that's kind of the thing. It's like, you know, it's important to use mathematics and numbers to sort of grasp the world around you and make sense of it, but don't take it too seriously because the numbers themselves don't matter. Our metrics don't matter. We made that up.
Yeah.
Like, the ruler that we made is simply just a tool to compare things. The ruler doesn't mean anything. The numbers on it, the scales, they mean nothing. Yeah. It's just a measure of comparison. But it's really easy, especially early days, to kind of like feel that there's some significance there. Like, oh, hey, you know, Pythagoras, like, he's figured all this triangle shit out, you know, like
the things in life that can't be solved with triangle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, it must mean something. Well, let's form a religion around it.
Like, but there's always two ways to see things, like the concepts of more and less,
and
then the concepts of good and bad. You apply those to each other. Well, sometimes more is good, sometimes less is good.
Yeah.
Vice versa with bad. You know, like those two concepts show you that there's not really like a defined state for any of that. Any perception or, you know, pattern you've found, like, yeah.
Well, yeah, the important thing is like we built this system. Oh, now I'm gonna go into we built this city. But we built this system.
Jefferson Starship.
Yeah.
Jefferson Airplane.
Jefferson
Starship,
Airplane, yeah.
Starship. Yeah.
Yeah. Good band, by the way, and really good song. But we built this system to comprehend and be able to sort of have a conversation about something. Like, how do you talk to somebody else about the world around you? How do you exchange goods and services if you don't have some kind of system of measurement, some standard that whatever, you have to have a standard, and we built that. The standard doesn't matter. That's the important thing.
What if we come across an alien species that didn't have patterns, right? Or in the same way that we did anyway. And we're trying to like communicate with them, like, here's 3 tricorders or something, and they're like, dunk, dunk, dunk. That's how they count. Banging their head on the screen.
It could be, and honestly, like that's no less valid than our methods. Maybe they'd look at our system and be like, what, you have like these stainless steel bars that you etch shit into? What the hell is that? Like, we bang our heads. Bang your head.
That's like just as confusing to the aliens as like the 3 seashells were to Sylvester Stallone and Demolition Man.
Yep. Oh man. But that was actually a really poignant point that like different cultures have different standards and different ways of looking at things and measuring things and stuff that doesn't make any sense. But that doesn't make it irrelevant. Like, if it's relevant to you and you understand it, then that's good. It's like, okay, so I have a digital watch now, but I'm very fond of watches with hands. And apparently nowadays,
like that.
Yeah, exactly. So mine's digital. I don't know. It can't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
2054.
Yeah. On this special day, apparently.
Dude, my phone says 2054. At the same time your watch says 2054.
Holy shit, and we're not even in the same place. We're like really far away, man. Like, by horse, it would take me like 20 hours to get to you.
You know what else? If you cut the last half off the year, that says 20. And then 54 is like a deck of cards plus the instructions and the blank one.
Well, and that's something that I actually kind of wanted to talk about, is kind of this, how we squeezing something into a box. Like,
yeah.
Like, okay, if you do enough mental gymnastics and mathematical gymnastics, you can make anything fit, which is why I think, like, okay, the pyramids are awesome. Engineering marvel. Like, given how long ago that was, thousands of years ago, these people built these massive structures that shouldn't have even been able to be built.
Now, I don't know if this is an old wives' tale, but isn't it true that we haven't yet come up with modern technology that could replicate the pyramids as they were built?
Like, we're on the edge. Like, it's possible, but it'd be really, really difficult.
Like, that's got to tell you more than like just like the brute strength of it, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Sikorsky helicopters. We could just like pick up blocks and move them around. We've got like lasers and fucking all kinds of shaving machines that could like cut blocks of stone.
Dude, the Mythbusters need to get back together for one episode where they try to build the pyramids.
Well, and I kind of wonder, and there's other marvels like the obelisks. Like, how did they erect them? That's kind of a crazy tall ass structures. Like,
yeah,
But it doesn't mean, just like numbers, it doesn't, just because it's something incomprehensible and something difficult to understand doesn't mean it's automatically some kind of witchcraft or some kind of magic or aliens or something. It might be possible that people back then weren't as stupid as we thought they were. Just saying.
Yeah. Well,
So
I don't think. Here's the thing: we don't have a lot of recorded history. Like really, hardly at all. Just a fraction of what we consider like modern humans. We have, I don't know, like 2% maybe. I'm just pulling this out of my ass. 2% of our history recorded. There is no telling. Like, look how far we've come in, let's say, 2,000 years.
Oh, look how far we've come in 100 years.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And then you go back 100,000 years to where you could actually see something and be like, I think that's human. You know, like you would have that much in common. Between then and now, how do you know we haven't gone through several World War IIIs? You know,
I honestly believe that has happened. Just reading the Mahabharata and some of the stuff that it talks about, like, you know, nuclear war, essentially, what was talked about.
And I mean, imagine like a war so catastrophically ended that it vaporized the bones, so there would be no fossil evidence.
Yeah.
Like you would literally be forgotten by history.
Well,
several times that could have happened, and I'm being like very conservative. Like, yeah, because we're not necessarily getting smarter. We've got the ability to be smart people. It's just a matter of like exercising it and the pattern in which that evolves dictates how far you get and how fast you get there, and whether or not you've matured by that time enough not to obliterate yourself.
Damn this. Okay, so I don't know if I did Mars Rising.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Fuck. I just like blew my wad like early on. But that would be a perfect song for this. Man. Oh, this is such a good conversation. Like, man.
I just broke the mold there.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Damn.
Man, I'm like, honestly, this is kind of a rare thing, but I'm kind of at a loss for words.
Yeah. Well, shit. I guess we should probably wrap up then.
Yeah, we're close to an hour, so I think that might be good. I'd like to hear other people's thoughts down there in the comments, like what you think about this and numerology and the significance of different variables and things. Like, does it really matter? Time, beer, yes.
The evolution of attraction and how that comes from patterns and
perfection. Like, what is perfection?
What it's like if you can't visualize patterns.
Yeah.
Like what would that life be like? And yeah. Huh.
Man. Holy shit. This is a deep one.
Yeah, it is.
And you know, you brought up the pyramids, and we kind of just scratched the surface there and didn't really talk about it.
Yeah, that would be a whole other conversation.
Yeah, it should be.
a whole other
It should
episode,
be.
I think. Yeah.
And I think it's kind of interconnected. But the big point about the pyramids is people think like, oh, the orientation of the pyramids is perfection. um, and the numbers all add up. I guess what I was getting at is like, there are measurements that numerically add up to things. However, the problem is that we don't know what the Egyptians used as a measurement system. They could have used anything. So we're applying our modern day measurement system, which is probably the imperial system and not metric. And then, somehow somebody figures out like, well, if you add this and you subtract that, then, well, it equals Sirius or something, the star. Like, okay, that doesn't really mean anything. Like, but you're really seriously telling me that thousands of years ago they hid in the code of the measurements like a secret message to the future? Like, well, why not just fucking stamp it on the side of the building?
Right.
Like, if it's that important, why is it hidden? Yeah. I don't understand that.
That's a great point. Like, there's a lot of this woo-woo stuff, if you really dig into the logic of it or the lack of logic of it. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of a rabbit hole.
Well, and you'll find that people will be inclined to kind of fudge the numbers. Like, well, in this case, I'm going to use imperial measurements because it's that number, and then it's metric over here. And well, you put those two together and it equals this thing, which is the coordinates of this particular star system. By the way, coordinates we just fucking made up, which are like AUs or something. Well, that's us. That's not like some kind of cosmic thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I always thought it was funny in Star Trek. They tried to like have this idea that it was not Earth centric, but then Sector 001 was where Earth is, and like Klingons would walk up and be like, "Oh yes, the Borg have been seen in Sector 001." It's like, oh yeah, like we're this totally dominant species, but we're gonna recognize you're number one.
Yeah,
like,
actually, that's a really good point. In the galaxy, where does that begin? I would imagine.
Yeah, how do they even compare star charts? Like, they have to see it totally different.
Well, yeah, totally. They're going to be like looking at it from their own them-centric position.
Yeah.
Now, a proper way, just like on Earth, you should use some kind of pick a standard, but it should be something like UTC, where the whole world observes at the same time. Doesn't matter because it's a fucking ball turning facing the sun. And that's it.
Yeah.
Like, time doesn't matter. Like, in a galactic sense, well, I don't know, maybe base everything off the fact there's a giant black hole in the middle of the galaxy. I mean, why do you think it looks like a toilet flushing? Seriously. Could it be that there's a giant black hole sucking us in? Like, inevitably, we're all going to be sucked into this black hole. So, God, get used to that idea.
All right, Thanos.
I mean, it's true.
Just like reaching these existential suicide points. Like this whole species just needs to like just know that we're gonna die eventually. Like, what's the point?
Well, yes, that's true. It will happen. I mean, it's a given. But it's awesome, the stuff that happens in between, the things like all the species, whatever they are, whoever you are, I'm watching you, by the way. They're amazing, and people have done amazing things. And it's like, it's kind of cool that we do this knowing. I mean, you do know this, right? That like everything is for naught. Like in hundreds of thousands of years, this is all gone. We're sucked into that toilet.
Yeah.
Like it's all gone.
No one will remember us, and no one's going to remember us a million years from now. I mean, let's be honest. Like, yeah, you're right. Like everything that we think matters doesn't matter worth a shit. Like the 6 different like civilizations that could have risen and fallen and literally wiped themselves off the planet. Like they're forgotten if they existed in the first place. They don't matter to us now. That has no impact on us whatsoever. That's not to diminish the full and rich lives that people had then, had they existed. But it also is like, well, you know what? Like everything is still going on. Like when they say life goes on, it's like, well, yeah, like things keep going toward that black hole. And
the galaxy is still turning, like it doesn't matter what you think or what you believe. Like there's a giant fucking hydrogen bomb going off basically in the that thing you call the sun. That's happening, and we're spinning around it over and over and over again and turning, and the sun is coming up, and well, there's some nice sunrises, but like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. All of this is destined to be gone.
It's all patterns. Like,
yeah,
you miss most the people of whom which like impact your present on such a constant level that you see a pattern. And I like, this is why we like lose touch with friends or whatever. It's like they aren't in our lives as many days or whatever, and you start to disassociate from your like noticeable, comfortable bubble being impacted by their presence. Like you acclimate basically to these situations where like you'll miss someone less. And that's exactly what is going to happen to what we consider humanity.
Oh yeah, like especially in a like intergalactic sense, like we will be forgotten. Everything you care about, everything you think is important is gone.
Yeah.
Like,
and you can send your time capsule up and hope that someday someone will find it drifting out in space, but there's a whole lot of space out there that definitely doesn't have any life, much less intelligent life, much less life that's wherever the fuck they are is somehow going to come across that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Now, just like Hubble, I'm optimistic about the James Webb Telescope and its findings. I think we should always...
It's trying to find a cork in the head of a needle in a haystack.
Well, sure, but we should always try to do that. Like, I don't think that's a hopeless endeavor.
No.
Like,
it's endlessly fascinating.
Sure, but here's the thing: we exist for a blink of an eye. We're here, then we're gone. Oh fuck! I'm gonna cry. And
what's evolving at the atomic level that like literally passes in the blink of an eye, and like, oof, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but shouldn't we try to like make a difference. I don't know. I try to make a difference. I think
I guess what's that matter either? That's a thing we made up that we picked, and
yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
we'll what exactly, like, if you don't feel you've achieved something in your life before you lose it, what exactly is that affecting other than your own perception?
Oh shit. Well, that's pretty
Like,
heavy.
you think you make a difference or whatever, but like that person might forget you 2 weeks later entirely.
Yeah.
Like, did you make a difference, or did you feel good about thinking you made a difference?
Well, and I guess maybe the point would be to expand your scope. Like, instead of worrying about like one person, you worry about your corner of the galaxy. Like, make a difference in a big way.
Are there groups of people that actually think Thanos was in the right? Because
Yes,
like,
yes, there are.
I
Yeah.
feel like we're kind of making arguments for that.
Yeah, there are. And there are arguments to be made in that regard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like the population thing. People are like, "Oh my god, our population growth is slowing or going down." It's like, so, like, do we have to have a bunch of people? Like, why? Why is this
Well,
necessary? What does this make better and not worse? Because I
yeah,
can tell you the
exactly.
vice versa, like, plenty.
Yeah, exactly. That one, it things are cyclical. Like,
Yeah,
in like
we don't need
we've
7
said,
billion people.
perfection is subjective. Like, what you think is important is probably not really that important. What I mean, okay, yeah, I'm
Well,
acid trip kind of yeah.
this is kind of a numerology thing, actually. Like, this whole concept of our global population needing to be at a certain level. Like, I implore you, please provide me research to show that if our population declined, we would somehow, as an entire species, be at risk of going extinct.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, that's all I would give a shit about in trying to encourage everybody in the world, or even just in your local environment, to like produce more, or just because,
Well,
like,
we
keep having kids because we need to keep the population at a certain level. Like,
which that's an arbitrary metric too.
yeah.
Like, more humans equals better, right?
Right? What?
I don't
Why?
get that.
Like, what the fuck?
It doesn't make any sense. Uh, oh man.
Like, I don't have kids. I can't have kids. I wouldn't mind having kids, but I'm not heartbroken that I can't have kids, because we don't need more kids just because
Well,
I feel like it, you know?
The important takeaway is to kind of like look at Centaurus A and be like, huh, there's a giant fucking black hole there that's sucking us in, and we will inevitably be sucked into that black hole. And everything that I care about, everything that I've built, every person I've known who's built something, it will all be gone.
Yeah.
When we get sucked into that.
And all these extra
One
people.
galaxy out of billions of galaxies.
Yep.
Like,
Which are very far away from each other.
is very far. Which kind of makes me feel sad, because I'm a Star Trek guy. Like,
Right.
I like the whole thing of, it'd be nice to cohabitate and, okay, well, all right, it comes back to sex. Like, I want to fuck all the green skinned girls.
But going back to the like extra people thing, it's I don't know, like I was saying, like, I wouldn't mind being a dad. Well, it's like, okay, I want to be a dad, but I also
want to be a doctor, but you know what? I might really suck at that. So should I be a doctor? Well, you'd be very quick to be like, no, you should not be a doctor. But if you try to tell me I shouldn't be a father, it's like, what a dick. And you just go out there and use your dick and you become a father. And you're like, should you have? Well, probably not, but you could, and you did. And we've turned that into this like metric. We have to do that cyclical thing over and over and over again, and make more of people that do that thing over and over again.
Well, and that's a really good point. And like, why? What do we hope to achieve? What foe are we attempting to overcome?
Jeez.
Damn, this is
I followed this line of thinking
so good. Like,
like this existential crisis kind of thinking probably would have prevented us from evolving to this point. If like we went back in time and like somehow conveyed this to the Australopithecus, they'd be like, man, fuck this shit. And they would stop having sex, and then we would never have evolved. Like,
or they'd figure out
butterfly
how to have
effect
sex and have
maximum.
fun without having kids, which is possible now. So why is everybody having kids now? Don't get it. Like, oh, yeah, we fixed that shit a long time ago.
Oh, but God doesn't like that pill.
Yeah, well, but that goes back to, that's kind of like the same metric that existed a long time ago that made sense a long time ago, and we're still hanging on to it, like the sundial or something.
Oh, that's right. God tells us we should be fucking so much, but then he also tells us that fucking is dirty and bad.
Oh, contradiction. Nice. All right.
Yeah. Wrap your head around that as a kid, just learning sex ed. And then on top of that, you got your Catholic school being like, well, sex is bad, but here's what it is. And you all do it.
Oh yeah. I totally trust you to tell me about things in that context. Like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Fucking twisted. Like, get a couple beers in me and the militant atheist comes out.
And it's no different with politics. Like, people feel emotionally invested in politics, and as they do with religion. And, those things made sense a long time ago, but today don't. Like, we should have evolved way beyond that a long time ago, but we haven't, and we're still clinging on to this like it still matters, but it doesn't. None of this.
Ooh, nothing else matters.
Oh man, good song. Oh, I don't want to get demonetized for
it's kind of interesting. We started from numerology, got into like perfection, politics, music interspersed along the way.
Of course.
Like we've kind of covered like everything we cover. We even like got into pyramids and conspiracies and aliens, and like
I honestly, as a huge fan,
this is a kitchen sink episode of Kitchen Sink by Cross.
It is. As a giant fan of Carl Sagan, like, I'm hoping he's looking down from wherever he is.
Well, he's looking from you if he was turned into a giant fan that you are. Like his skin was stretched out and made into a fan, and you are that giant fan of Carl Sagan.
Oh yeah. I just
not made
like,
of.
Up there he's kind of like, yeah, I approve. That's good. Like myself.
He would totally come on this show.
Oh, totally. Oh, wait. Can we have Neil deGrasse Tyson, his replacement?
Please.
Oh, fuck
please.
Yeah.
Please come on the show, man. Oh, that was so great.
I mean,
Dude,
he's not quite on par with Carl Sagan, but he's really fucking good.
Yeah, and he's awesome because he's got like a social spunk that Carl Sagan didn't really have. Carl Sagan was still just like a geek, but this dude has like witty quips, you know, like
Well,
he gets in people's
they
faces with
they
it.
both existed in their space and time for the
Right. Yeah.
for the moment.
Yeah.
You know, because I identified with Carl Sagan at the time, and you know, challenging things like he brought things to my mind, my young mind, that I had never thought of before, and that's awesome. Like I thank him. If he were still alive, I would kiss his fucking face. Like what?
And you don't have to be like a physicist or anything, because I mean, LeVar Burton does the same thing.
Yeah,
or did the same thing. You know, like when we were growing up.
Yeah,
you know, reading Rainbow, like he like made it warm and comfortable and cool and enlightening to read books.
Yeah.
You know, like he just did like a wholesome thing and put it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then also went on to be in Star Trek, and you know, like had like 2 great legacies in his life.
Yeah, that is
like, that's a dude, right? Like
exactly.
You know, like
holy shit. Oh,
like get him on the show too. Come on, LeVar. Has anyone ever said or written anything so eloquently awesome in your favor?
Oh man.
You should come on the show. Please. Enlighten us with your world experience and your
oh man, views. Dude, like LeVar Burton. Oh fuck. That would be
hashtag LeVar Burton challenge.
I mean, hell yeah. Show. Like this is the thing, and this is kind of like a Star Trek thing. Like this world that we have, all that we know, is destined to die. It will be dust. And
it's fucking dark, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Dark Man. That's another good one.
Oh yeah.
But it's dust. Like everything that we hold dear, everything we care about will be gone. I don't want to be nihilistic, but I mean,
we're star stuff. That was a Carl Sagan thing, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What if perfection is becoming a star? What if that's our cycle? What if What if our being, when we die, breaks down into the atmosphere, becomes the constituents of something that generations from now will become some other life, and that energy carries through, circles back, swirls through the cosmos, and congeals into a mighty star?
What are you, some kind of fucking communist? Like, because that requires like everybody to be involved. And honestly, as a woo person, I love that idea. You know, like
being a communist and
not being communist, but okay, communist firearms, yes. AKs, the fuck yeah. But you know, the idea that when you die, your life matters. Like you become part of this matrix, like the whole or something. Like
you already are one glorious whole.
Oh, Red Dwarf. But you know, it's kind of important because, you know, people extinguish themselves too early, thinking that like they don't matter or that they don't count in the world. And it's like, you know what, dude, none of us count. None of us matter. You have to make your own significance in the world.
Yeah.
Even
that, even popularity is subjective because
it is.
You know, it's like
Machine Gun Kelly walked in and sat down next to me, I wouldn't be like, "Oh my god, Machine Gun Kelly!" I would probably wouldn't know who he is. Actually, that is a he, right?
In this day and age,
I don't know. Like that's how little I care about that person who
Mhm.
millions of people like really love. So
Well, yeah, and I've rubbed elbows with billionaires and all kinds of 1%ers and stuff. It's like
that's kind of super personal behavior. I'm gonna rub my elbow against you.
Well, turn a phrase, like, but it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care about them. I care about what you've done. What difference have you made? Have you done something? And even if you've made a difference, you probably haven't, because, well, we're all going to be sucked into this singularity at some point, and it's all dust.
I was thinking about that earlier today. A coworker was talking to me, and the owner walked by and had a brief chat with us in passing, and then she walked away, and my coworker was like, "She just makes me nervous. I don't know why." And I'm thinking, like, another person, like,
yeah.
If you just talk to her that way, like I do, like, she's just another person. It's as simple as that,
Well, it doesn't matter, like, what material stuff somebody has, like how much of whatever shells that we agree to exchange somebody has. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. What matters is we're humans. And exploring is important. Like, I can get behind that. I don't care how much money somebody has. If somebody uses their resources to do something awesome and go exploring, good. Like, we should be doing that, because, the giant fucking black hole right there at Centaurus A, you just look out into space and you'll see it. That's the black hole that will inevitably extinguish everything in the galaxy. So what are you going to do if, like, you should operate as if with that assumption, that's the way things are going to be. I know it's long term. It's really hard for people to understand. It's really easy to be like, well, I'm going to collect all the money I can or something. It's like, well, what the hell is money? What is it? Like, what is time? What are numbers? Like, none of this shit matters.
Well, it's just like, I consider ourselves a success with this show. Even if right now, like, maybe 12 people might be watching at the most, right?
Yeah.
Now, like,
and by the way, we love you all.
Yes. But if 200 years from now, someone stumbles upon this and, like, really, I don't know, makes a difference, like, on a huge level, then I choose to see that as the future.
Yeah.
And consider myself a success on that benchmark that I haven't even reached yet.
Oh shit. And you might not reach until
probably won't.
And until we're both dead. Holy shit.
And even if then,
yeah,
fuck it all, man.
Shit, it's dude.
Probably gonna rain.
Oh my god. Oh man,
I mean, people rag on existentialism, but, like, it's pretty logical.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of, like, nothing matters, everything's going to shit anyway. Like, fuck it.
Yeah. Well, and shit is a subjective thing as well. Like, you can just simply look out there and realize, okay, we're on this ball of dirt that's flinging around this star. You could look at it from that standpoint, or you could be like, well, hey, there's a giant black hole sucking us in. And it will. Like,
Need to do as much good as possible before then.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and maybe throw some stuff out there, like make a difference in another galaxy or something. In Andromeda, that's pretty close to us, right? Make a difference. Like, because the thing is, like, none of this matters. Like, nothing that we think is important is actually important. I'm
getting like a universal level guilt trip. Like,
well, it's more like, an appeal to people. Like, hey, be good people, be good humans. Like, hey, humans are actually kind of awesome. Like, we're kind of rare. This is a remarkable thing. Why waste it on fucking wars and infighting and Twitter and fuck Twitter? Like, why don't we solve some shit? Like, make a difference. Get out there. Let's share skills and solve some problems and stuff, because
everybody wants to feel good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And if you think about it that way, why would somebody feel good hurting someone else? Like, that's got to be an aberration. Yet we let them congeal into our governments and tell us that it's patriotic to have this hatred for the other people.
Ooh, oh man. Oh, dude. Fuck, this is such a good episode. Holy shit. Oh man, that is a good point.
We've let the aberrations take over, where most of us would say to anyone who said, go kill that guy over there, we'd tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we'd go like smoke a bowl with them or something. Whatever, like,
oh man.
If we truly like followed our nature, everyone would just want to feel good and wouldn't gain any pleasure from taking that away from another. I sound like a libertarian Care Bear right now, but like,
that's okay. It's okay. It's all right.
Libertarian Care Bear needs that t-shirt.
Oh, totally should. Oh man. Oh man. Oh yeah.
It's got a don't tread on me t-shirt and like,
yeah. No, it should be like a gummy bear of like a neutral color.
That like translucent one that looks like paper that's like 25 years old.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like, oh, that looks appetizing. I'm gonna eat that one. Hand me that old paper gummy bear.
Oh man.
The one with the asbestos and nicotine stains.
Rust and dust and nicotine stains. Oh man. Oh, but the thing is, like, this is something that I've thought about, and I've thought about for a very long time, and I'm thinking a lot about now with all the Russia, Ukraine stuff. There was a time where two cultures who were compelled to be at odds with each other were not. Like, we met in space, shook hands, and drank vodka, and then we just came back to Earth. Like, can we just keep doing that? Because that was actually awesome.
It should have been drinking a good old American Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah.
Bastards, let's kill them. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, fuck.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. I think we might have discovered a new dimension.
I think so. Oh man,
Can we link to that dimension, or is YouTube caught up to us yet?
it's kind of like the Nexus. So if you go to that dimension, you're never coming back.
Well, that's all we got to do is just snap our fingers.
If that's the dimension I would never come back from, I will happily go there. Just saying. Huh. Man, there's so many things. But fuck, this is such a good episode.
I think like an hour ago we were like, well, it's time to wrap up, and
I think so.
we're gonna need a little bit of text there that's like, hang on, don't leave yet. Still another hour.
Everything we do is so fucking good. Like, man,
Dang.
I can't wait for the aliens to invade. So politicians with their like limp dicks could be like, well, we tried to solve it with like military equipment, and they're like, call in KSM.
And we come out with some beers and we're like, hey, alien bros.
Yeah.
Brewski.
It's like everybody's sitting at a table and stuff. Oh man. It's like, how'd you do that? Beer? We just kind of drank together.
Eric's over here like, you're from space and this is Space Dust.
Okay, well, my solution would probably involve sex. So I'd have to fuck the aliens that are invading. But they'll be okay with that. Consensual.
All that space dust.
Oh man.
Jeez. You're gonna get canceled for a vaguely rape joke.
Oh man.
Calm down, people.
Man. Well, I guess
we talked about everything else, had to throw in cancel culture. Dig.
Well, and I think I mentioned that too early on, that like how pointless that is.
Mm-hmm.
Like how big the universe is, how big everything is. Like, are we seriously going to waste our energy and time?
How big
On
everything
that.
is.
Yeah. Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
big.
That's a waste of time.
Okay. You can't see down there. Oh
That
man.
reminds me of Crichton's Replacement, where he like puts this thing down here and he's like,
Shit.
That
Damn.
happens. Whoa, and it landed straight up. Damn, it must be a sign.
Oh shit.
A
We did
numerology.
the water bottle challenge, like oh man, fucking TikTok.
And I didn't spill any, even though it was completely empty.
Ooh.
That's a sign.
Yeah. Oh man.
God, what a great episode. It's always the ones you eat. It's always the ones you think, oh, this will be a short kind of like back burner. Nobody will get into it sort of episode. And then,
so fucking good. Like, oh my God. Like when we're talking about the future of humans on planet Earth, who does that? Like,
and the ways that we
that.
differ from other alien species that maybe even Star Trek never touched on.
Well, they always spoke English, so that was a problem.
Even when they were speaking in metaphors, which were in English. You know, like,
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, what? That's what I always wondered. Like, what were they translating to even know that they were speaking in metaphors? Like, wouldn't it all just sound like speech?
And, you know, the universal translators, like, why is it English? Of all the languages on Earth, why English? I mean, is that...
Well, because we're watching in England, or, you know, America.
Maybe, you know,
Maybe it should be called
like,
Americanish.
it's kind of Americanish. It's kind of a shitty language. Like, Russian is actually a lot better if you want, like, things to make sense.
From Thanos to Putin. Russia is better. I don't have my hat handy this time, but
Ruski yazik. All right.
it's close for vodka.
Yes, it does. Oh, only got space dust.
Vodka.
Well, hey, all right. You know, for my Russian friends, like, drink up. Hey, let's not go to war. You know, hook me up with your sister. We should fuck and trade, and life is good.
Yeah. So, thanks for deep sea diving with us into the third eye. And Dobrovice.